the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 204 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, it's sprinkling to start this race, but we're going to start it anyway, just because. We'll see if we can get past lap 5.
We usually stumble out of the gate just like they did at New Hampshire, so it's all good. Eric, I'm going to be honest with you, man. We have at our house, it has been illness central since Father's Day.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughter had a double ear infection over the weekend, so we did a lot of TV watching in between tears and medicine. So we got almost all the races in this weekend.
Nice. I have something I'm dealing with. I don't know if it's a cold or if it's allergies. I think it might actually be a cold, but
yeah,
I'm powering through.
Well,
and I'm working from home the rest of the week, so I'm good.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, to all the parents out there, I was thinking, like, I would rather go back to the newborn stage than deal with a sick kid. But then I thought, Eric had twin boys. How did that work?
Yeah,
because that must have been, oh my god. But
I won't get into some of the details of the horror aspects of
the
it.
horror stories.
There were some rough moments. There was a very rough Easter.
Oh no, yeah.
Very rough Easter with the stomach flu. Ran through the whole family. That was just awesome. Yeah.
That's the joys of parenthood.
Yep.
But when the kids are not feeling so good, that gives you an excuse to be lazy and watch racing all weekend. So that's how our weekend rolled around. So
yeah,
sometimes real life stuff trickles into the podcast. We just can't help it.
Right. I did some housework on Saturday and then clicked off the Xfinity race later on with a little break in the middle to go to dinner, and found out who won the race while I was at dinner. So
I don't think it matters.
Watch the rest of it and still enjoyed it. So and then Sunday I was at a family function and kind of off to the side, sort of participating in the conversation, and I get a text message from James that says, "It might be worth your while to check in on the race right now." And I spent the rest of my time at the family get together browsing Twitter, trying to figure out if NASCAR was going to do anything about what they caused.
Yeah, I love because listen, man, I operate on Sundays as you're not watching live. I don't want to get in the way, but every once in a while, it's worth it to blow up your plans.
Well, I knew that the race had just started because I checked it on Twitter and I saw that Kyle Busch was leading into turn 1 like 5 minutes before you messaged me. So it's like, well, I don't have to watch very long to see what happened, what the deal is. Right. And I had an inkling of what it might have been, but maybe not quite to the level that it was.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, I'm like, even if you're not there, you could get 8 laps somehow. So yeah. I'm like, I'll throw it your way and see what you said.
Yeah, no, you did it perfectly because you didn't spoil anything, but you let me know that something was happening.
Stuff is going on, and Eric, I just can't believe that in the season that we're having with NASCAR, we cannot figure out the rain.
Yeah,
like we just cannot flat out figure out what to do with the rain.
Well,
with this series,
let's get into it. It was the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301 from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I guess before we get into it, we'll talk a little bit of Eric Almirola comes through in the clutch at the end, out of freaking nowhere. 27th in points or something like that.
27th in points going in. Yes, sir.
And wins the race, gets himself a playoff spot.
And let's put the asterisk on it.
He's got a playoff spot.
He's got a spot. That's right. And I want to say he drove through. He earned this win. This is not like all of his wins have been like, super speedways or, he's got the Xfinity Series win where Denny Hamlin was actually driving. That's one of my favorites.
Right.
But this one, he got a little bit of help from NASCAR twice. He got the start of the race where the field got wadded up.
That may have been the biggest help.
That was the biggest help, and then he got the bonus of we're getting dark here, and we're gonna cut off 9 laps from this race, and I think I mean, I don't know if Chris Bell was going to get there, but
See, I have a question there because
yeah, let's have it.
And I think I'm trying to. I listened to both Jeff Gluck's podcast this week and Doug Rumpelclear, so I'm probably going to be pulling stuff from both of those all night long. And
that's all right.
One of those places they did bring up the fact that, in addition to Christopher Bell knowing how many laps were left in the race with 10 to go, Eric Almirola also knew that there were 10 laps to go when there were 10 laps to go. And when he came down to 2 to go and started giving up that time to Christopher Bell, where Chris really started to reel him in, he knew he only had 2 laps to hold him off. Yeah. So if they had to go the extra 8-9 laps, could he have maybe put a little bit more into it and held him off a little bit more? Yeah. Maybe could he have raced Austin Dillon a little harder, bumped Dillon out of the way if he needed to? Yeah.
And the teams knew that NASCAR was looking to shorten this race at a certain time, and they were letting them run. They let them run through the last pit cycle. So honestly, I don't have a problem with them doing this.
No, I have no issue with it either, and I like the fact that they gave a 10-lap warning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know they were going to finish the race regardless. Like I like that they were like, listen, there's no overtime, we run it to the finish. Which, kudos to NASCAR. Sometimes I don't like rules on the fly, but in this instance, like we were so close to getting this in that you just got to finish it with where it is. As convoluted as the system is, where we're starting these races at the times that we do, you got to get them in somehow, and we got basically a full show. So
now I did read somewhere, and I don't know how accurate this is, so I'm just throwing this out there as something I read, not as fact, but I read somewhere that NASCAR, in their infinite wisdom and their wonderful decisions at New Hampshire this weekend and throughout the entirety of the 2021 and probably 2020 season, didn't take into account the fact that the windows on the tower are tinted in deciding whether it was too dark or not, and likely could have gone the extra 8 or 9 laps. Yeah. That being said,
it was getting dark, man.
Yeah, it's dark. Okay, we talk about interest of safety, and we're gonna probably chew NASCAR out for interest in safety in about 30 seconds here. So in the interest of safety, we don't need to be driving cars blind on a racetrack. It was trying to think who it was that was talking about it on. Well, and Sirius.
I'll filibuster for you, Eric, for a second. If you looked at the TV screen, and kudos to Dale Jr. and the guys for letting us know, like, hey, listen, what you're seeing on your TV screen is not in fact reality. Right. It's a little bit brighter. And if you saw social media right after the race, it was it was 50% darker than what it was on my TV screen, I'd say. I mean, it was definitely a noticeable difference. So
well, if you've ever driven at that time of night where it's almost dark and your headlights aren't really doing a very good job, and you've got a newer car and you have that stupid dashboard that's a giant screen now.
Yeah, we got one of those.
So these Cup cars all have that now too. And one of the drivers was saying on Sirius that if they could have just turned the digital dash off or down, that would have helped. Not only that, but if you look at the front stretch, all of the pit boards now have LED lights on them. So you put those lights in, that's even more of a distraction, makes that darkness even worse. I don't think we lost anything. I think we still had a good, exciting race at the end. Maybe they would have been. We probably lost out on a good bump and bang finish, but
could have. We could have.
I was pretty damn satisfied with that race for a New Hampshire
race. Good race. Yeah, it was a dang good race, Eric.
James and I are going to disagree because James has this theory in his head that I don't know what he's been smoking or what races he's been watching. That New Hampshire is a sleeper and is always a good race. And
always was a strong word. That was my poking you in the side.
I was going to pull up Jeff Gluck's "Was It a Good Race" poll because this race never ranks well. We've had good finishes here, but usually the races suck here.
Yeah, we've had a couple of races here. I mean, 2018 is the one that sticks out. That's the Harvick. Was that the Harvick bump and run on Kyle Busch?
Yeah.
And then we also had the one recently where Harvick and Hamlin got into it. I think that was 2019. So we've had recent success at New Hampshire. I guess my point, Eric, is whenever we take races away from tracks for whatever reason, whatever it is, that one race always elevates itself. And I feel like New Hampshire, since it's lost the second date, has started to put together good racing.
Well, let's see if that theory holds true in a few weeks here when we go back to Michigan.
Oh God, I know.
How nice would that be for a great race?
Well, and to be fair, Michigan always gets screwed with, becoming a test race, in the past few years with the second date. So hopefully they get a real show here, which I'd be more than happy to. So yes, that's going to be a good test. You're right.
So Eric Almirola is in the playoffs now. We're setting up for an early exit at the end of the first round, right? For Almirola.
Yeah, I don't. They've shown literally nothing else all season, but Eric, stranger things.
Right. It only takes a win, man.
Yeah, well, and Eric, Stewart-Haas has a history of doing this, limping into the playoffs and then maybe getting hot. So maybe I don't see it though. I don't think Eric Almirola is a threat.
You know where it is, James. Here's what's going to happen this year. Here's my prediction. I'm going to go out on a limb and make a prediction right now. Yeah. And in a few weeks, we're going to go through our predictions from the beginning of the season as we enter the playoffs for drivers that made it and didn't and whatever. And I have a feeling we're going to be way off. But here's my prediction for the championship this year. If I remember correctly, I believe I might have called for a Kyle Busch championship this year. But we're going to have another Tony Stewart season.
Somebody gets hot.
We're going to have a guy who has been there but done nothing all season and is getting hot at the right time, and it's going to come from the same team.
I was just going to say.
Kevin Harvick is going to redeem himself, and he's going to get hot in the playoffs. He's going to win some races in the playoffs. They're peaking at the right time, man.
You're liking how he's running right now?
I think so. I mean, and he hasn't run bad all season. That being said, he's 15th in points right now.
Yeah, well, we've had all those winners too,
right.
Yes.
But I think Harvick's not going to have to race in on points because he's going to have himself a W by the time we get to the playoffs.
Well, looking at the playoff schedule, because we're at the point in the season here where we really got to start keeping an eye on this stuff. We go Darlington, Richmond, Bristol, and that's the cutoff. Let's say Almirola gets through that stretch. We go to Talladega in the next round. So Eric, he could, in theory, jump from 27th in points to make a top 8 run here. I don't think he's a threat in the playoffs, but I also don't think it's unrealistic that Eric Almirola ends up with a top 10 points finish by the time we're all said and done here.
I agree with that. I would go no further than that. He's not a Final Four driver. Gonna have to put too much together to get to the Final Four, but yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised to see him slipping through a round, especially again where that team is seeing some success right now. That being said, if you go back and look at history, I didn't pull the numbers myself, but I know several others did. Almirola is good at New Hampshire. This isn't a surprise necessarily. I mean,
he's said it. He said going in, I'm going to be good.
It's one of his favorite tracks. It is a surprise, but it's not. If you really pay attention to the stats, it's not as big of a shocker as it might seem to be.
He's just been so bad this year. I mean, Eric,
that team's been so bad. I mean, really.
Well, and it's such an outlier. Like even last year, he had 18 top 10s and a 13.3 average finish, which is a pretty good. It's his best year outside of his fifth in points run that he had in 2018. Eric, he's at a 21.8 average finish right now, 3 top 10s in 22 races right now. So he's got, I mean, this is as far as underdogs go, he is, I know Michael McDowell is the biggest underdog in the playoffs, but he's not far behind Michael McDowell.
Yeah.
He's right there. I mean, he's got better equipment and better stuff, but he's as big of an underdog for sure.
Yep. Of course, as big of a story as the Eric Almirola story is, I'd say the biggest story of the weekend was easily let's see, you have lap 8.
I thought it was lap 8
I think they crossed the line at lap 5.
Yeah.
And wrecked going into turn 1 because the track was wet. There are a lot of differing
lap 6.
Opinions or stories of what happened. There was Jim Utter is doubling down on the fact that there was a message on the NASCAR radio that the track was wet in turns 1 and 2 with 2 to go under caution before the start of the race, and that the next transmission was 1 to go at the line. Heard it on pretty good authority that wasn't the case. That being said, it was also referenced by Door Bumper Clear this weekend as the spotters having heard it. So if it wasn't NASCAR, somebody said it. It definitely was out there, so at some point that was mentioned. Anyway, NASCAR doesn't throw the caution. The going through on at the end of lap 4, a lot of drivers said they were struggling in turn 1, slipping and sliding. There was a lot of talk on the radios apparently about the track being wet. NASCAR is in discussions about throwing the caution as they go into turn 1 again on lap 5 or on lap 6 at the end of lap 5, and Kyle Busch spins, backs her into the wall. Denny Hamlin goes around. Martin Truex Jr. hits the wall, takes out 3 Gibbs cars basically. Alex Bowman got damage as well. Everybody else behind was able to slow down and avoid the mess. And so
just a bleep show.
So here's my thought on this. This is my thing. If this happened on its own, okay, yeah, shit happens. If Texas last year happens on its own, it happens.
Yeah.
If the accident at, I believe it was Charlotte, or maybe Texas with the Truck Series, where Johnny Sauter cleaned half of his car off because there was a car stopped up against the wall that NASCAR didn't see, you go, it happens. But when all 3 of those freaking things happen, what in the hell is going on with NASCAR's officiating, James? It is getting old. And I mean, you can go further. We can look at COTA and the wrecks that happened there, the decisions that were made under the rain there. Now we want to run rain tires at New Hampshire for God knows why.
I just I worry about this. Goes back, Eric, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, with sometimes when there's lack of leadership, decisions can be very sketchy.
Nobody's taking the reins.
Yeah, I look at Steve O'Donnell and I really like Steve. He's done some really good things, and he's been a really good voice. But I just wonder, I mean, I know there's a lot of things that go into this, and we don't need to get into all of it.
Yeah.
The TV partners starting these races at 3:00 and putting so much pressure. I think I'm stealing this idea from Jeff and Jordan in the Teardown podcast, but I agree with their take that these TV partners are pushing these times back, and they are putting NASCAR's trying so hard to get these shows in.
Yeah, they're feeling the pressure that they got to get this race in, and there's no time to wait.
There's no wiggle room. Like we can't, like we used to start these races at 12:30, 1:00, and Eric, if we would have done that, this race would have been done.
Yep.
In this example, but when you give yourself at a track with no lights, you give yourself a short, tight window to get a race in, and you have a pop up like this. It's far and few between, but NASCAR is in a little bit of a rough stretch here with that Texas race last year, COTA, and this one now.
That's the thing that bothered me, is that
we should have learned by now.
Steve O'Donnell gets on TV and says, this doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it does happen.
And it just happened last year. We wrecked a guy you could argue you wrecked a guy out of a championship chance.
It really killed Harvick's chances at a championship. Like didn't eliminate him from the playoffs, but
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, does this hurt Kyle Busch? No. It costs him a little bit of money on a car that they have to replace.
Playoff points, I think, because I think he would have probably been the best car. Him and Truex are both going to be good, yeah.
But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not a whole lot. It's really not that he didn't have to sit through the rain delay. He could go back to Charlotte before the race was over. I mean, but I don't know. We're again, interest of safety, man. We got to do. I get that NASCAR also gets a lot of criticism for throwing cautions when they shouldn't throw cautions.
Yep.
But I would rather NASCAR is criticized for throwing a caution when they shouldn't have than the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's another thing.
It's been a theme all year, Eric,
yeah.
where we don't know what a caution flag is supposed to do.
Right.
And if the track has moisture on it, by God, throw the caution flag. It's a safety issue. I don't care if it's too early, but when you give drivers no chance to compete, you have the 18 teams show up. We have no backup cars. We have no practice. They show up and they literally run 5 laps, pound the wall, race over.
Yep.
They never had a chance. And these teams are supposed to be doing all this cost savings and things like that. And they're just, literally just took their money. They could have just taken the money for this race and lit it on fire and went home.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened.
Now, I have
a handful of these teams.
I have a million directions I could go to right now. But
we could just, Eric, this whole issue that we've been talking about, if you went back and did the and you did the audio work on this, we'd have a whole podcast and then some on these same problems all season long. It's been all season long. It's just nuts.
So my question is okay, so NASCAR screwed up by not throwing the caution early enough. We wrecked cars. Why not just let them work on them under red? I mean, I get that's not helping Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is screwed. He's junk. He's going home.
He's done. Yeah.
But why not let Truex and Hamlin work on their cars?
Didn't work for Joey Logano.
I know. Why give Joey? I mean, Logano's incident had nothing to do with this crash, and was stupidity in its own aspect. But why take 2 laps away from Joey Logano? Just let everybody work on their cars, dude. If you watch the Formula One race in the morning, they wrecked going into turn 1. Everybody comes onto pit road. And they can all change tires. It's basically race starts over. They can all work on their cars. Why don't we do? I don't understand this not working under red stuff. It's dumb.
Yeah. It's
especially when you screw up. I mean, when NASCAR and NBC or Fox or whoever it was, I think it was Fox, screwed up at Charlotte a few years ago and dropped the cable on the track. They let them fix the cars under red. That's what we should have done here.
Yeah, and that screwed Kyle too.
Yeah, exactly.
that could have been worse. That's a whole nother topic. I don't have any disagreements with you there. I think, Eric, we've probably never been more on the same page, and I think we could probably talk ourselves into circles going back and forth on this stuff. But man, it's just, I don't know. Kyle Busch can be Kyle Busch, but what happened on Sunday, I'm actually proud of how he handled himself.
You're
honestly.
Not kidding. I thought for sure.
Yeah,
we were going to be seeing the driver suspended.
Yeah, I know he tried to rip the bumper off the pace car.
Yeah, he actually parked the pace car for the race because they had to get a backup out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him.
No, and you know what? Neither does NASCAR apparently, because NASCAR didn't penalize him for it.
Well, they screwed up. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it goes.
That
back
being
to
said, he should have gotten a penalty for that.
I mean, Twitter was a buzz with let these guys roll out backup cars, but they can't.
They don't have them.
They don't have them. So it's not even worth us talking about it because it's not even an option. But if there were backup, this is a situation where if there were backup cars at the track, I would have been like, yeah, you can get your backup car out and I don't know, start the back of the field.
Though, because the precedent has been set for this.
I know.
I mean, Jeff Gordon had the track come up at Martinsville and cost him a race. We've seen this happen before, and generally they don't.
Act of God, right?
Yeah. But this was active NASCAR. And that being said, I will say that I believe it was Alex Bowman essentially said it was raining, so we backed it down.
Yeah,
and
some guys did.
We didn't wreck going into the turn, and that essentially if you wrecked, you should have slowed down. You guys are driving the cars, not NASCAR.
Did you like the conspiracy theories that something was wrong with the Toyotas because they were the only ones who really spun?
No,
I
didn't see that.
What's being tricked up on the JGR cars that only they spun while they're driving hard.
Right.
That might be the
I will say that probably the biggest thing I think that caught everybody off guard that I don't think anybody realizes, and the same thing happened I think at Texas, is that this accident, the fact the track got so slick so fast, was caused by the crap we put down on the track.
Oh yeah.
We didn't put PJ1 down this weekend, but I'm sorry, as great as this race was, and I want to say victory for no PJ1, there was still PJ1 on that track from the last time they raced there. And I think that stuff is slick when it's wet, and I think that contributed to them losing control as quick as they did.
Yeah. No disagreements there. I think there's definitely, I mean, look at what happened to Texas. That stuff is baked right into the track, so it's not coming out.
Yep.
And unfortunately there's probably some, it may be 10%, it may be 5%, but you're right, there's definitely something there.
Yeah.
And Eric, I wanted to say one more thing too. Like, I'm always someone who says stick by the rules, and technically NASCAR did in this instance, but sometimes when the rules just aren't fair, then I just even me.
Then it's all right to put a 13th car into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. even me, the stickler, can be swayed sometimes. And
there was no way you're going to win in this situation. And once NASCAR screwed up, they've lost no matter what they do. So I think they made the right decision by not punishing Kyle. At the same time, I still think Kyle should have received some punishment.
His punishment was enough, I guess.
Well, I think the precedent though is that if NASCAR botches a call, now you can wreck the pace car. That's the thing. Like, what does the next guy do if he rips the bumper off the pace car? They can't penalize him now because they set the precedent.
Yep.
So,
I think Kyle Busch is the only one who's actually going to do that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. As I was saying before we recorded the podcast, I had some major Ron Hornaday Texas flashbacks as Kyle was pushing that pace car down the backstretch.
Yeah.
They talked about it on Door Bumper Clear, and I don't remember which spotter it was, if it was Freddie Kraft or TJ Majors, but said that they were Bush's spotter was yelling at NASCAR, and the DBC spotter looks up and sees what's happening and says, you might want to check in on your driver.
This isn't the first time the pace car's been bumped, and not Kyle was more aggressive, I think, than anybody. But I remember Smoke was pushing the pace car one time.
Well, a lot of times they bump it during the race and mess with it. Dale Earnhardt was famous for it.
Yeah, Earnhardt was another one.
But they don't usually wreck it.
Yeah. When you tear the bumper off that thing, that was
What else with this one? Christopher Bell was able to rally for a second place finish. The Penske cars were good. Joey Logano gets the 2-lap penalty, still races back for a 4th place finish.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. TJ was saying that they would have liked to see a green-white checker at the end of that sucker because they would have probably had something for him.
The Fords took 5 of the top 6 spots.
Yeah. It helps when you clean out 2 of the Toyotas, but
and we don't know what that tells us for the championship race just yet, but I think that tells us a little bit of something.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot of people saying this weekend that New Hampshire doesn't tell you anything.
I disagree.
Yeah, I think Dave Moody said it best. The drivers that don't run well at New Hampshire are saying, it doesn't mean anything, and the ones that do say, it's everything. This is what this is a great indication. So,
well, if you're Brad Keselowski, you're thinking, okay, I didn't win this weekend, but I'm not far off from where I was last year.
Right.
And he was fast at Phoenix, and he dominated. This was the one of the races where he, if you remember, Eric, he was like, "This is my car."
Yep.
This started that whole thing, and he's not quite there, but for me, when we do the fantasy every week and stuff, and I was gonna bet big on Penske, and then I switched. I was like, no, I think this is gonna be a Gibbs day. And I didn't get completely destroyed because I did hedge my bet with Gibbs and Penske, but if you would have went all Penske, you would have went 3rd, 4th, 5th, because you had Keselowski, Logano, Blaney. And then DiBenedetto had a pretty solid day. He finished 11th. So that's a great day. Ford's got to be happy with that because they haven't had a day like this in a little bit. And to get a surprise winner with Almirola, coming through and for him, that's all they can ask for. That's a really good day. And Kyle Larson wasn't out there leading every single lap, and Harvick led, Blaney led, Brad led. They were all in the 50, 60 laps led, and DiBenedetto led 20 laps. So,
see, I bet on Penske for fantasy, but I bet on Brad and Joey, and everybody else bet on Blaney. Everybody was ahead of me bet on Blaney, and every time Blaney would lose a spot, I'm like, yes, I'm getting closer to the front. But it just didn't happen. And I think I finished 5th in fantasy. And that's pretty good for having Kyle and Joey on my team to start the race.
Yeah, Joey rallied for you for sure. I had Truex and Joey, and I had to sit Truex down, and thankfully Joey got those laps back because that would have been a really long day.
Yeah, I sat there and debated: do I put Kyle on the bench or do I put Joey on the bench? It's like, Joey's got a chance to rally back for some points.
Yeah, he was coming. He had a fast car, so at least he had that if he can get on the lead lap. But Eric, we did have a little bit in this race. I guess some controversy. Quinn Huff was not happy with Ryan Newman, which I don't think I've ever seen any personality out of Quinn Huff. So
no,
kudos.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then the Roush Fenway Racing Twitter handle went after Quinn a little bit on Twitter. And Quinn responded, "Looking forward to your announcement on Tuesday."
Yeah, it was so good. I was like, wow, I was really proud of Quinn. I was like, wow, well done.
Yeah,
well done.
I was pretty impressed too. It's pretty good. They talked about him a little bit on DBC that, he's improved a lot. He's not been an issue. And they said he was running his line, which is all that you ask. And that Newman had some issue and decided to clean him out or whatever happened there. And
well, when you're
Newman
Ryan
being
Newman, Yeah, when you're Ryan Newman, we're gonna talk about him a little bit here.
Yeah.
When you're struggling and you're at this point in your career, it's got to be tough. You don't want to be racing around Quinn Huff.
Right.
If you're Ryan Newman, you want to be up there with the Hamlins and the Bowmans, and you expect more from yourself. So when you get frustrated in the back of the pack, I think it amplifies, and especially for a guy who's got a lot of pride like Ryan Newman, he doesn't want to be back there. And
right. To be fair,
gonna...
Ryan Newman did finish 24th. Quinn Hoff finished 35th. So
yes, that's right. Yeah, Ryan didn't do a whole heck of a lot after that.
Quinn finished 35th with a lot of help from Ryan. So
that's right. He had some help. Yep.
This race, man, I know we had stoppages and stuff, but holy crap, I've never had a 300-mile race feel like that long. I came home and I was watching it live, and I'm like, we aren't even done with stage 2 yet? What in the world, man?
Yeah, it took a long time to get this sucker going, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good race. Handful of cautions.
Yeah, it was a great race. New Hampshire race. I mean, I would argue that if you take out, I mean, Vegas was a really good race this year. I know there was a couple other ones that were pretty good. Definitely a top 5 race this year so far. Especially if you take the super speedways out of it.
Yep.
It was a good race.
Yep. And I think this race, honestly, it sucks for Kyle and those guys, but I think this race benefited a little bit from some of the big contenders taking damage early.
Well, it's just like that. It's like that Brickyard 400 when Kyle and Truex.
When Kane won.
Yeah, when Kyle and Truex dominated and then they took each other out. It's like, oh man, we got something to race for now. So
yeah, and it turned into a wild show. Sometimes if you cut the head off a little bit, the rest fill up, and again, kudos to Eric Almirola for getting it done. Man, it's just I wanted to see Christopher Bell get close to him at the end there, Eric, but I wanted to see Almirola get that win because it shakes up.
Yeah,
here's our transition.
The playoff shake up.
Yeah, here's our transition. It shakes up the playoffs in a big way.
Yep. Yeah, we went from basically knowing who the top 16 were going to be to now we've got teammates battling for the last spot.
Teammates and honestly, Kevin Harvick's not a lock.
No, he's not.
And neither is Denny Hamlin because we got some variety of racetracks coming up here. This thing's not done. We are and honestly, Eric Almirola, I don't think is safe if it gets really crazy.
Well, and Denny's got the points lead, so
he's hanging
in.
On. Yeah,
but if he gets knocked out of that spot, and we get a couple more winners, he's going to be right on the edge.
Yeah, and Larson, somehow, some way, Hamlin has held on to that points lead. Larson's only 13 points back, so Denny's got to hang on just a little bit longer. He'll get those bonus points heading into the playoffs. But yeah, it's tight, and I don't know if you're Richard Childress what you're supposed to do here because you're boxed in. One of those Childress cars is probably going to get in, or they're both going to get bumped out.
James,
what do you do?
If I would have told you at the beginning of the season that Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, let's see, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch,
Alex Bowman,
all would have wins before Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. Would you have taken that bet in a million years?
22 races into the season? No way. Nope. Nope. Not after what last year showed us. They had no reason to be. Hamlin hasn't been bad. He just hasn't sealed the deal. And Harvick, they're battling a whole different beast. So they're fighting.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I'd
be nervous.
Kevin Harvick has August 22nd circled on his calendar because he dominated Michigan last year. 2 races at Michigan. That's the one that locks him in.
Yeah, he's got that one. He's got that one ready to roll.
Yeah.
And Hamlin, I hate to say that he's got Daytona circled, but he's going to be ready to go when we get to Daytona.
Yeah, there's going to be some desperate guys though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And
you got some desperate guys. You got Bubba Wallace who's going to be desperate trying to get in. Matt DiBenedetto is going to be desperate trying to get in. You got good drivers on a super speedway that are going to be desperate to get into that thing.
And honestly, we have 4 races left before the playoffs, and Michigan's the only stable race. I'll go moving forward because we got 2 road courses. We got one.
I would argue that Watkins Glen's kind of stable because we know kind of what we're going to get out of Watkins Glen, but we don't know what we're getting out of Indy.
Yeah, Hendrick's going to be fast, and Chase Elliott's going to blow everything up. But yeah, we don't know what we're getting with Indy. We know what we're getting with Michigan. We definitely don't know what we're getting with Daytona. But the good guys at Daytona, like the guys who are sealed into the playoffs, they have nothing really to prove at Daytona. It's all, it's bonus money. It's the guys in the back that are going to get wild. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's let's see. Anything else with this one, James, worth talking about? We only had 6 cautions for 47 laps. It is Eric Almirola's 3rd victory in 375 Cup Series starts. I think that pretty much covers. Chase Briscoe, highest finishing rookie in 27th. Denny Hamlin is 13 points ahead of Kyle Larson for the points.
Chase Briscoe's got that Indy race circled on his calendar, man.
Yep. Oh yeah.
The eggs are in the basket for that one.
Oh yeah. Yep. Day before we had the Am Better Get Vaccinated 200, the NASCAR Xfinity Series. James put some major effort in the notes here and just noted that Christopher Bell won this race.
And that's it.
151 laps led. Only one of 4 drivers that led laps in this thing.
I don't even know what to say about this race. I'm going to be honest with you.
Like
Chris Bell showed up in the 54 car, and I think it's 7th win in 9 races or something. And he just kicked everybody's butt.
AJ Allmendinger and Noah Gragson got into it a little bit on the track in this one. Noah not very happy with AJ. So that's something to watch for the future. We know that if you come at Noah, he's going to take a swing. He's done it twice.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I'm with you. There's really not much to point out here. 5 caution laps, 28 laps.
Yep.
Christopher Bell, undefeated in everything but the Cup Series at New Hampshire.
That's right.
So,
yep, he almost got the sweep. I guess he almost got the weekend sweep.
Yeah, just about.
I thought it's hard because like Daniel Hemrick had a great day.
Yeah,
never led a lap because he completely dominated this thing.
Yep.
Jeb was up there for a minute. AJ was up there for a minute. And that's
these damn Cup drivers coming down and stinking up the
I
show.
know. That 54 car, man.
Yep.
She's a beast.
Yeah, for sure. With that, let's talk SRX racing, James. The SRX series finished out their season at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Chase Elliott got to battle his dad and then got the win. Battling Smoke at the end. Tony might have let him have it a little easy. I don't know.
I don't know. I saw some slippage at the exiting the corners. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was pulling for him.
I feel like Stewart could have cleaned him out, but probably couldn't have passed him clean.
Yeah, I don't know if Tony. It's not worth it.
No. Tony's
now,
got
Paul Tracy would have cleaned him out.
Tony's a fan favorite in this series, and now is a fan favorite. Period. And the best way to not be a fan favorite anymore would be to take out the defending champion and most popular driver in NASCAR.
And the guy who was purposefully coming to Nashville to, basically be, what do they call it in wrestling when you're not the heel? What's the opposite of the heel in wrestling?
Oh, the face, baby face.
Yeah, the baby face. There you go. Ranger Runyon's going to be upset with me. I know he's a wrestling guy. But yeah, the baby face came in. And he didn't want to be. He's
kind of the olive branch too. I mean, like NASCAR and SRX, we do like each other. And hey,
Tony
we'll help you try and get NASCAR here at Nashville and all that stuff. There was
that was the shocker of the evening. Was Tony's post race interview when he thanked NASCAR. I think my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh, he did it. So he waited till the very end of the season and he finally extended the olive branch. So we'll see what that means moving forward. I don't know, but
only the second time in history that Chase Elliott and Bill Elliott got to race together on the same track, and we got to see a pretty good battle between the two at the beginning of the race.
That first stage was legit. Bill was giving him everything he could handle.
Yeah, and if he wouldn't have slipped up on the restart, he would have been there right at the end too. I mean, it does help that they gave him the backup car. Finally, gave him a car that runs.
Yeah, finally, yeah,
that was nice.
Good thing that Tony didn't let him have that nice car all season long.
Right.
He might have been running for the championship. Eric, Nashville, great racing at that track.
Yeah, it put on a better show. I was expecting an Indianapolis type show.
An IRP or ORP or
it definitely put on a good show. There was some good racing there.
Yeah.
We want to see NASCAR come back here. Jeff Gluck said on the Athletic or on the podcast that there's a long ways to go here to make this a NASCAR ready track. There's a lot of facilities that need to be rebuilt. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent here. But at the same time, Speedway Motorsports has the money to spend. and is willing to spend it if the town will get behind it. And I don't know. I feel like it keeps slipping away, and I hope we get it, man, because I think this could be a great facility.
Yeah, Chase. I got to give Chase a lot of credit. Like, he went out of his way to do this. He doesn't have to do this, but he wanted to race his dad. He wanted to race against Smoke.
Yeah.
But really, what he wanted to do was lobby for. He sees it, and that's what the NASCAR champion is supposed to do. He's supposed to be an ambassador for the Cup Series. And
honestly, this is something we haven't had in a bit.
Yeah, we haven't had the Cup guy go out and do this kind of, ambassadorship for the sport. And what Chase did on Saturday, he should be commended for. And hopefully the masses will get behind him. The racing masses will get behind him and get this thing done, because he wants to see it there. He sees the value in having NASCAR in the city of Nashville. Like, it's right there. Huge market for NASCAR. We have a Nashville race, but that's out in the suburbs.
Right.
So
we have a Nashville race like we used to have a Chicago race. It's not in Nashville.
Exactly. Yeah. And this
shoot, it's like calling Michigan a Detroit race.
Exactly. Yeah. And this isn't a track that's lacking in history. It goes back a long way with NASCAR. So if we can have a little bit of both, I'd be pretty happy about that, man. It's that race was so positive in so many different ways.
17,000 people or something like that they put in. Sold the place out. They did have a CRA Jegs race afterwards, but I believe the crowd was there for the SRX series.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is absolutely awesome. They looked, they were packed in there and looked excited to be there.
Yep.
Which was very cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
Eric, we had side-by-side multi-groove racing on a short track without PJ1.
Yep, the High Line came in well.
Castro Neves was the one who kind of found it. He went up there first. I was kind of surprised. All of a sudden, once Castro Neves showed everybody how to do it.
Let's give credit to these open wheel guys, James. When the open wheel guys used to run an IROC, they struggled a lot in that series. A few of them were decent. I've remember like Alonso Jr. being able to run well in those.
Yeah. Marco. Or not Marco.
Michael?
Yeah, Michael Andretti. I remember him running a couple.
So, but these guys, that's super speedway racing. The IROC cars ran on big tracks. We're talking short track racing, and with guys that don't race with fenders.
Yeah.
They picked it up pretty good, and whether that was a product of the cars that were brought to the track to make it easy, as they said, easy to drive but hard to drive fast. Yep. Or whether it was just the learning ability to these guys, they were able to put on a good show, and it didn't seem like anybody was just out to lunch on any of these races.
Even you think back, I think a great example of that, Eric, was Slinger, when you're racing on a quarter-mile oval, and you couldn't catch the back of the field. The leaders never, I know we had a couple of fun flags in there, but still, with those fun flags, we still weren't approaching the back of the field as fast as you would think.
You're adopting the fun flag, huh? You're with Bestwick.
I'm with Bestwick. Yeah. I know it's the lap limit flag, but I'm going with the fun flag.
I have a problem with. I like fun flag better because the lap limit flag doesn't work when you throw it with 7 to go.
Yeah, I know.
It's that's not a lap limit. That's a fun flag. Yeah. But I'm good with it because that's what the series is. It's all about fun.
Yeah, and exactly. And the drivers know the rules going into the race. They know that on lap 70 of a 77 lap race, you're going to get a caution. We're going to bunch it up and we're going to run them again. So,
James, I have a petition to start. Petition is that we definitely need to invite Paul Tracy back next year. That guy was able to play the villain in this series so well.
Yeah.
Alan Bestwick is on Door Bumper Clear this week. He's my shout out this week because, by the way, it was a spectacular interview and I wish it was way longer. I love Alan Bestwick. Alan Bestwick is 80% of the reason that I gave this series a chance to start with.
Yep. Was I the last 20%?
Probably not. But Alan said that, he took a lot of crap. Paul Tracy took a lot of crap for the run-in with Haley Deegan. And part of it is, hey, that's what happens when you play the heel. But also probably not deserved either. Paul Tracy is the type of person you need for this series.
Oh yeah,
he added so much to this by not being a factor, but being a wrecking ball.
Here's a little secret: NASCAR has always told the line of being WWE.
Yeah,
and SRX went full WWE.
Yeah, they did.
And it's made for TV. That's what it's supposed to.
And again,
you're supposed to hate that guy, and I hated him.
It wasn't even that. We talked about it. Yeah, exactly. We talked about, a couple times here that the personalities of the series made this series. At first, I was so down on the fact that we had drivers that were washed up, people that we hadn't heard of, or no longer, major parts of these sports, but they obviously saw something that I didn't in the personalities of these guys, and that's what made the series.
Yeah, that's and that's Ray Evernham and Tony Stewart just knowing who to get. And Tony was the driver recruiter to get these guys in here. And
Tony did good work.
As much as I don't like Paul Tracy, that was his job. And you've got some of those guys like Castroneves and Kanan. They're just likable dudes. Yeah. Haley Deegan. I mean, Paul Tracy getting in a run-in with Haley Deegan was perfect. Yeah, was perfect. The only thing that would have been better is if he would have had a chance to run in with Chase in that last race. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Michael Waltrip, he's not much on the driver's side at this point anymore, but he's Mikey. He's, and
they'll give you a good interview.
Yeah, and CBS had the great talent all around. Like Brad Daugherty's really good. Yeah. Lindsey Zarniak.
Although whoever made the decision in the very first race, James, to have Brad Daugherty interview Ray Evernham on the front stretch, a guy that you didn't realize is as short as he is, with a guy that's as tall as Brad is. Oh my God, it looked ridiculous.
Yeah, Brad being in the NASCAR garage, he definitely stands out.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah, let's have
it. We gave this series a grade at the end of the first race, or we gave the first race a grade. We haven't really talked about it since then. So series is over, 6 races, done and gone. Tony Stewart's our champ. Speaking of which, Tony Stewart, very proud of the fact that he was the last IROC champion, first SRX champion. That's also very cool.
That is,
obviously, Stewart really draws a lot of comparisons to IROC with this series, which I think is great. I think it actually has a lot of. I think it has a lot that IROC was lacking.
It has the spirit of IROC.
But it's more fun.
It's not. Yeah. Oh yeah. Made for TV event. Yep.
But James, give me your grade on this series as a whole.
Yeah.
Beginning to end, and then I'm going to give you mine, and you're going to be surprised.
Boy, I'm going, for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm giving it an A+. I have nothing really bad to say about it. It has its issues for some things, but as far as a first season, they knocked this thing out of the park, man. The racing was excellent almost every week. We only had a couple of races that weren't the best, but they were still decent. I don't know, man. There's not a whole lot to fix here. Tighten up a couple of things around the rules and a couple other things, but it was an A+ for me. I'm going to miss it.
I believe I gave it a B- after the first race, if I remember correctly. James, I got to go with you. A+. 100%. Yeah. I honestly can't really think of much to change other than maybe don't put Danica in the booth for a couple of races.
That was the worst. Yeah, that was the worst. Hinchcliffe's really good.
Hinchcliffe is great. And not only that, but they were talking about, Alan was talking about it on DBC, that Hinchcliffe, every race that he announced, would go and get in the car and run laps during the practice sessions to get an idea of what they were dealing with out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just the access that they had, the fact that it's one owner and it allows the network to work so well and put cameras wherever they want to put cameras and talk to drivers during green flag laps and all that stuff. It was a complete winning formula. The tracks that we ran, the personalities that we have, I just can't think of anything that you would change. I think the fact that it's 6 races, don't add races. Don't run more than 6 races.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to see more weeks of this, keep us wanting more. Don't add drivers. I'd love to see more cars, but 12 drivers is great.
12 drivers is good. Even if you have a better rotation of all-stars coming through.
Yeah.
But they found a really nice balance of these young guys coming in and these local legends. And Eric, we're going to see Ernie Francis Jr. racing NASCAR at some point. And it's going to be a big part of what he did in the SRX series because he showed he can drive. Doug Coby's getting a shot in NASCAR now. There's opportunities that have just been opened up for these guys because of racing in the SRX series with the talent that they did.
The only thing that I hope, James, for next year is I hope that Alan Bestwick is not able to announce, because I hope that he is too busy announcing NASCAR somewhere because I want this guy back in NASCAR so bad. He is so good at what he does.
Yep. We
Such
missed
a
him.
great job of anchoring this show.
Yep.
I mean,
He keeps it moving. He just keeps it moving.
I feel like I could do a whole podcast just about SRX. I just super excited about what they did. I was a doubter, wanted it to fail mostly just so James would look foolish. And it didn't fail. It delivered everything and more.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for next year, but that's why it's great.
Yeah. I tweeted today that it's the most fun I've had watching racing in a while. I mean, not that I don't have fun watching NASCAR. That's
No,
not
exactly.
That's not but this was just fun. Just a lot of fun. And you said
the WWE aspect. There was enough of the WWE aspect for the entertainment without cheapening the show.
That's right.
That's right. It didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel, too gimmicky, even with the cautions. I mean, it was just good all around.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And Ray Evernham built a hell of a car that maybe isn't the fastest car in the world, maybe doesn't look the best on dirt.
Thing races though,
but it raced.
It races.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it held up to some beating. You saw incidents that didn't take cars out of races that would have in any other series.
Yep.
I mean, just all around, big applause to SRX, Ray Evernham, Tony Stewart, the whole crew over there. Just great work.
Your friend Marcus Lemonis, thanks for coming on board.
Definitely.
He got his money's worth on getting that sponsorship late.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, millions of people watch this every week. So, I mean, it was just, I don't know. I was expecting it to be good. I didn't expect this thing.
I figured it would peter out by race 6.
Yeah, I just thought it was going to be like this nice little B. I would have probably, like, if I was giving it a preseason grade, I was like, yeah, B, it'll be fine. I'll like Eldora. I was looking forward to Slinger. But this thing blew me out of the water, man. It was great. It was just great. I'm going to miss it. I can't wait for next summer because Eric, I think I want to go.
I'm going to at least one of these things. I'm going to get myself some credentials and really do it up. I'm going to be definitely at least one.
Yeah, it's going to be
I hope we rotate some tracks. I hope we try a couple different tracks. I really would hate to lose any of the tracks that we had, except for Indy. We could get rid of ORP.
Yeah, Indy would be the one that I would get rid of. Stafford supported it really well. And even if we didn't go back to Knoxville and we took it to another dirt track, that'd be fine. But yeah, I like the 2 dirt tracks being thrown in. There was some talk that Ray wants to get on a road course.
I don't like the road course idea.
Yeah, so depending on what that road course is, but it would have to be a tight one. You know, you'd want to make it.
That's the thing. It needs to be a bull ring. Lime Rock.
Lime Rock
could
be
a
one.
really good one. Actually, probably be perfect for SRX and Parker Kligerman's part owner out there. Maybe he can make it happen.
Make it happen. Yeah, get Parker driving in this thing.
That would be cool. Parker
would be a great driver.
In SRX.
I know he's with NBC though, so I don't know if that would work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could get if we could find a way. I know it's hard for Dale Jr. He's so busy. But if we could get a guy like him, if we can get Chase Elliott, we can get some other guys to come through here. And that's the next step for the series is to get more relevant superstars to start competing with the current roster. You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would take anybody out. But I would like to see maybe a little bit more rotation. You had Greg Biffle run a couple of races. You had Haley Deegan run a couple of races. Maybe we rotate those out and add a couple more drivers to the mix. That might be better.
Yep.
But yeah, all along, good deal. Like I said, 6 races. Wish there were more, but glad there aren't.
Yep. Yeah. If they bumped it up to 8, I think that would be as far as I'd go. I don't know if
I think you'd start pushing it then.
Yeah. I don't think I'd go much past that.
And you know what they have?
Got a system in place.
What they have that works is IROC always ran 4 to 6 races a year. But they spaced them out so much that you would forget it existed.
Yep. That's the thing. You bunched it all up.
We did 6 races in a row. And massive props to the crews that worked on these cars.
Oh yeah,
again,
man. Yeah.
We talked about on here. They didn't work out of a race shop. They worked out of the freaking asphalt and 90-degree heat at racetracks.
Traveling circus. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible what they did, and it all paid off.
It worked, man. It worked. Yeah. They had a vision and it worked. Unbelievable.
Speaking of paying off, James, let's talk some NASCAR news.
Here we go.
Brad Keselowski is now minority owner at Roush Fenway Racing.
Oh, no, we didn't know about this.
No, I know. It's quite a shock, complete surprise. He'll be driving the 6 car in 2022 and beyond. Jack Roush made sure that it was known that he is not retiring yet. Chris Buescher is going to remain in the 17 car next season. And also word was that they'd be willing to run a 3rd car part-time for Newman if he's interested next year, and they could put it all together. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot to talk about here because I think we've kind of already talked about it.
We've covered this so much. Yeah. I think the reaction today is what got me excited for Brad, because you can see it. You can see it on his face. You can see it in the way he talks about this, that he's taking a risk, but this is a meaningful experience that Brad Keselowski wants to do. And Eric, I know he's not the most beloved NASCAR driver out there, but he's really smart. Mm-hmm. And this sets him up to be in a position to help not only this team, but to lead NASCAR moving forward.
Right.
I really like having Brad have a little bit of say. And he's got a lot of belief in his talent, and he's got a lot of belief in the talent at Roush Fenway so that they can compete for championships.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for him for this opportunity now.
He made a couple in his comments today too. It was interesting because he kind of made it known that there's this deal is twofold. Obviously, we knew about the interest in ownership for the future, but it also has a lot to do with the long-term contract. He wants to know where he's driving for the next several years. Mm-hmm. So doesn't sound like Brad's planning on retiring in a couple of years. He plans to race for a while yet, and now he's got that 6 car locked in. He ain't going anywhere because he owns it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, solidifies the end of his career more than likely, and then also beyond. So,
yeah, exactly.
Good for him. I mean, I hope it works out. I hope that this team can turn the right direction. I guess
it's a Michigan team, Eric.
Yeah.
We got Jack Roush, Brad Keselowski.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about that part of it. I'm excited about that.
If somebody's going to turn this team around, I mean, why not one of the best drivers in NASCAR right now?
Well, Brad said it in his press conference today. He said he's the exact same age and he has the exact same number of wins that Tony Stewart had when he made his move.
There you go.
I think that synergy is interesting. This is different though. We're moving into a little bit of an unknown future with this next gen car.
Yep.
It could be the perfect time. He's going to have the same engines under the hood that he'd be running at Penske. So if things are leveling out, this might be the time to make the jump.
Well, and it's different than Stewart's deal too. Stewart went to a team that was nothing. I mean, it hadn't competed.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it literally was back marker cars.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Roush
is better than that,
but they did previously a lot.
Roush
they know how to win over there.
Oh yeah, this team's 300 plus wins in the top 3 series.
They've seen victory lane. They know what it looks like. They know what the champagne tastes like.
They've hoisted trophies above their heads.
Yeah.
That say Cup Series champion, and they've done it multiple times. So,
yep.
Eric, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to throw you one curveball because I knew we wouldn't have a whole lot to say, but I wanted to throw you one curveball. Is Brad Keselowski the best driver to ever grace the Jack Roush team? What do you think about that one?
Oh, that one's tough.
So that I figured that.
Man, that's really tough because I mean,
now, here's the names. Here's the names. Mark Martin, obviously. Matt Kenseth, champion.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch, champion. And I would throw Carl Edwards on the list.
Yeah, Carl's on the list, but I think Carl did more with JGR than he did here, even though he ran here a lot longer.
He only ran 2 years at JGR, I think, but he definitely
I guess
he did.
I mean, he did tie for a championship at Roush, so
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Man, I can't give you an answer because I have
to
think
close.
about it.
I put Matt, Kurt Busch, and Brad all in the same.
It's so funny because you hate on Matt Kenseth so much, but you rank him so much higher than I do.
He's a champion.
I don't rank him as high as you do, though.
He's a champion in the sport, man. That's a hard thing to do.
Matt Kenseth is like Bobby Labonte to me. He's kind of, I think, underappreciated.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I don't appreciate him that much. I tell you that.
Yeah, but you rank him so high.
I just hold the championship in such high regard in the sport.
You rank Matt Kenseth above Mark Martin. I know he's got the championship and Mark doesn't.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Though. I didn't say that. I think Mark Martin's the answer here, honestly.
I think so too. I think
he just doesn't have the championship,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that matters. He was close enough to the championship that he might as well have had
so many times. Yeah. And that's the thing. Same thing with Carl. He was so close to the championship so many times. But for me, for me, Eric, the championship, it's such a hard thing to get that I hold it in a very high regard for I've said it before. The championship's the automatic Hall of Fame bid, no matter what. You get one, doesn't matter. Alan Quicky's the example. You get one, you're in. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's why Kurt Busch is in that club, and I think Matt, Kurt, and Brad are all bunched together. They're very good drivers. They're all champions, but they're missing that. It's like Kyle Busch elevated above them when he got that second title. They're all missing that one thing.
Yep.
That
I
next
agree.
step.
I agree. Yeah, any of those guys pull off another title, it changes things.
I wonder how many drivers could have got this deal, in this climate that we're in. Could Matt Kenseth have tried to get this deal if he had wanted it? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Not at the point where he was. I don't think so. Harvick could probably do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Matt Kenseth got beat out by Ryan Newman. I mean,
he did. Yeah.
So
yeah, Matt limped her home there the last couple of years, but
the other part of this deal that led us to getting this announcement, because it was waiting for this announcement, is that Roger Penske announces that Austin Cindric will drive the number 2 next year. And in a shock to everybody, including Matt DiBenedetto for some reason,
don't get me started.
Harrison Burton was named as the driver of the 21 for Wood Brothers next year.
Yep.
Apparently Keselowski asked for an ownership stake at Penske and was told nope. James notes that Brad said the split was actually good and there were no hard feelings there. I think we saw that on Sunday when Brad got into the back of Blaney and could have easily taken a spot from him, but backed off and let him keep the spot. There's a respect there. So
yeah, I mean, Penske is such a tight family, and I will say this: Brad Keselowski is the best driver in that history of that team, as far as the Cup Series is concerned. That includes Rusty Wallace. I'm saying it.
I agree with that.
He brought the title home, and I know Joey has since done it, but Brad brought the title home. So he gets the honor. Rusty was fantastic though. Rusty's one of my favorite drivers of all time.
Yeah, Rusty's a great driver, and Rusty is one that I admire quite a bit. Got to shake his hand a few years ago, and that was good for me. I just, as much as I don't think I was ever a Rusty fan. I totally respected what he did.
Yeah, he was the anti-Earnhardt. Yeah. So he was. If you didn't like Dale, you had to like Rusty. I feel like in some way. But though this is good. Roger even said that Brad's always a friend of the family. But Eric, that's pretty coded as well, that Brad's not family here. You're not going to get ownership in this team.
Yep.
That's not how Penske operates. You don't get to do that. Even if you're the guy who brought the title home and recruited Joey Logano over.
That doesn't surprise me though. The way that Penske, I mean, not there's anything wrong with this, but the way that Penske controls things, the way that he, won't let you have facial hair and makes sure he wants you wearing, proper button-up shirts and just Roger. That's just how he is.
He runs his team like the New York Yankees, and that's Penske's already got plans in place 10 years down the road.
Yeah, and you can't. The way Penske runs his team, you can't have a driver as an owner. It just wouldn't work.
Yep, it's not the way he wants to do it, and that's fine. Now Brad gets to do what he wants to do, and like Brad said today, he feels like he has more to offer than being just a driver.
Mm-hmm.
So with Penske, he gets to do that. He gets to live that part of his career out, and this was a great run, Brad, with the Penske organization. Man, it was 11 years of really good work by Brad and the Penske crew. So. Yeah. Kind of an end of an era here, but Penske's going younger. They've got Joey and Ryan in the stable, and Joey's still young with his championship too. But Cindric was the logical choice. You got to bring him in.
The only question that I would have is, do you take somebody like Ryan Blaney and stick him in the 2 cars? That's the iconic ride with Penske. But I don't think you need to. I think Blaney's built himself a brand with that 12 car. Logano has built himself a brand with the 22. I mean, there's no reason to move anybody else.
And the 2 doesn't carry the Miller sponsorship like it did anymore. So it's not what it was. It's kind of fallen. The 22s, I feel like the 22 is the anchor of the team with the Shell sponsorship.
I agree too.
So if it was still the Miller Genuine Draft or the Miller High Life, whatever, it's or the Miller Light car, it's not the same.
Yeah, now it's Keystone Light when we do put the beer
Keystone and all those Freightliner. He's got a lot of sponsors on that car. So
so the surprise of this news was the Harrison Burton announcement. I know that a lot of Toyota fans are screaming that they lost another Toyota driver from the pipeline, which is wrong because Harrison Burton isn't a Toyota driver. He drives a Toyota, yes, but he's not been a Toyota development driver. He just happens to be in a Toyota ride.
He brings his own funding to his team.
So Burton was going to go where he could go, and
he wants to go cup racing.
How great to have the Burtons and the Wood brothers combine. I think it's a good fit.
Yep.
You know,
and honestly, Joe Gibbs is not sweating this.
No.
Harrison Burton's ready to go to cup.
Yeah.
But there's no room at the end. But you know who's going to be coming along at the perfect time for Joe Gibbs? Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, that's who's going to be a guaranteed announcement for that 20 car next year.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs is coming along, man. He's going to be coming, and honestly, I don't think there was any room for Harrison now.
No, if Harrison didn't take the jump to cup with somebody else, he was going to be on an Xfinity ride. So
yeah, this is a great move for him to get. He's going to get the Ryan Blaney set up here. He gets to be in a really quality ride, not A+ ride, but this is a good ride.
Yeah, and again, next year we don't know. I mean, next year it's equal to everybody.
Yep, and it's basically a Penske car. Let's be real. So. He's going to be in a good spot here. But
Matt DiBenedetto was surprised, James.
No, geez, man, I don't want to get started.
I love Matty D, but how are you surprised when the announcement was made a year ago?
Don't throw me the pity party, man. I know.
I love Matty D, but I do feel like he's playing the victim again, and that only is going to work for so long, guys. I mean,
dude, you can put sad videos up on social media and pout all you want and do all this stuff, but you know what, dude? Go win races.
Yeah,
and it's not a problem. I don't want to hear it.
He didn't perform in the car, and again, this announcement was made last year. Brad leaving shouldn't affect it. He was already told he didn't have a ride after this season.
Yeah, I know.
So if you weren't looking for another ride, I don't know what you were doing.
Yeah, if he wasn't getting busy, I don't know. You know, I feel bad for the guy because he's actually running pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear the whiny pouty videos, man. Just go win races.
Yep.
Go win races. You didn't hear Eric Jones pouting and crying when he lost his ride last year. He understood the stakes that were at hand. You know. Yep. I don't know.
I agree.
Win races.
Yeah.
That's
NASCAR says the crash test data is back. They've sent it to the teams. All is good on the new NASCAR chassis, and teams are going to start receiving them this week, James.
Here we go, man.
Yeah.
It's time. Prep for 2022 is on.
Freddie Kraft doubled down on DBC this week and said that he still doesn't think it's going to run a full schedule next year. I think NASCAR thinks it's going to run a full schedule next year, and maybe supply issues cause a problem and make that not happen, but right now we're on track for a new car next year.
Here's the thing. If supply is a problem, NASCAR is going to adjust the weekend schedules to make sure that supply is not a problem. They have shown that they will run races without practice and qualifying, and they're not going to be afraid to do it again.
Yep.
Even if they want to next year, they'll pull the plug on, having to bring backup cars and things like that if they have to. We'll see. We'll see. There's flexibility here now. NASCAR has shown us, despite, the issues we were talking about earlier in this episode, they have shown us an incredible ability to be flexible, and these cars are coming. They're going to run. That's what's going to happen. NASCAR will make it happen.
Yep. With that, I think that's all the news, James.
I think so, man. We got our butts kicked again last week when we posted the episode, but I think with everybody going on vacation this week, I think we'll be okay.
Well, at least Brad was nice enough to wait and do the announcement before the podcast this week.
Oh, we're Michigan guys. We're polite.
Yeah, exactly. So he didn't screw us over to we have to jump back on. We get a 2-week break here, which we will take a 2-week break unless something happens that makes it worth us jumping on for the podcast.
Yeah, if we have any shocking news, we'll plan to come back on, but I think we're going to come back after Watkins Glen.
Yep. So we're going to make our picks tonight for Watkins Glen, as unprepared as I am for this. And before we do that, let's talk about last week, because NASCAR screwed me over along with Kyle Busch. And I got 1 point for my pick. You said you thought there might be a way to give me some solace here. You know how you could do that? Let me pick Kyle again. That would be.
Oh,
I'm not going to pick him anyway, so you can say yes or no. It doesn't matter. He's not my pick this week. But yeah,
that's so funny.
Kyle Busch gets 1 point, screws me over. James takes the lead again, 71 points to 49 over the weekend. 2051 to 2045. So it's still close.
Very close. You plan this just right too, that you get to pick first for the 3 races that we get at Watkins Glen. So
I did.
You played it perfectly.
So I'm gonna play some strategy here. I have to play some strategy this week. But let's go through here. Let me find the notes here again. The first race we have is the Truck Series United Reynolds 176 at the Glen. and I have not made my decision yet, but I'm pretty close. I am going to go. Oh man, it's tough. It's tough, James. I really want to pick Ben Rhodes again.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, because he won at Daytona and he's run well here, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just gonna go. You know who I'm gonna go with? I'm gonna go with Todd Gilliland for the hell of it.
Wow.
You know,
didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
nice.
He's just running well. He finished 4th at Daytona. I'm kind of basing this off Daytona. I feel Daytona is probably the closest to what we got to Watkins Glen. We haven't run a Truck Series race at Watkins Glen since what, 2000? You said?
Yeah, it's been since 2000. The only drivers whose data shows up when you look up the stats for this upcoming week is Harvick and Joe Nemechek, and I'm pretty sure Kevin's not running. So,
and not only that, but Todd Gilliland also has a near win until he was taken out by Noah Gragson in the Truck Series at Mosport as well.
Oh yeah.
So
and Noah Gragson, he finds his way.
Yeah, Todd Gilliland's a good road course driver, so I'm going with him.
All right. Well, you're going to give me a chance to take John Hunter.
I know. I almost went that direction.
I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it. I was going to take Ben Rhodes, but I thought you were going to take John Hunter. So I'm going to take John Hunter just because he's got the best stuff.
Yeah.
And he's probably the best driver in the series since Kyle's not racing. So I'll take John Hunter when I can. So give me that one.
It's a good pick. The NASCAR Xfinity Series is racing the untitled race. It is the NASCAR Xfinity race at Watkins Glen.
August 7th at Watkins Glen.
Yes. And who was I going to go with here? Is Ty Gibbs racing in this thing?
I don't know. I didn't look at the entry list, honestly. If you want to take the time to look at the entry list, go for it.
No, I'm not going to look at it.
I can do it for you real quick if you want to filibuster for me.
Sure, I'll filibuster. So I really was leaning towards Daniel Hemrick.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if the entry list is going to be out because
it's probably not. You're right. It's not out yet.
Yep, it's not out yet. Yep.
Like I said, Daniel Hemrick's one I really like, but obviously I can't pick him. Austin Cindric's an easy pick here, but he might be one worth saving for Indy, which is coming up right after. But I don't know if I'll have the first pick for Indy.
Yes.
But I'm going to leave him on the board, and I'm just going to say we got an announcement this week that he's going to Cup, and he's going to make it known in the Xfinity Series. I'm going with Harrison Burton.
H. Burton here. Harrison Burton. All right. I will. Well, listen. If you're going to give me a chance to take Austin Cindric on a road course, I might not get that shot. I'm not going to get that shot next week, unless you pass me here in points. So I'm going to take it.
All right. I like that because I want him for Indy. So.
Yeah, and if I mean, I can't have him regardless. I think unless, like I said, unless you kick my butt this week. So I'm going to try to fend you off here. I'm going to take Austin Cindric.
There we go. I like that. And then the Cup Series. It is the Go Bowling at the Glen on Sunday in a couple weeks. And hold on. Where did I go here?
I'm really screwed here because
so this one I am not going to play. Or I'm going to play strategy here too, because obviously Chase Elliott is the pick. And do I want to save him for Indy? And I don't want to save him for Indy because I'm afraid that I'm going to win this week and you're going to get the first pick. So I am going to take Chase Elliott this week and just.
Well, that's the better play for you because I can't take Martin Truex Jr. I took him last week.
I didn't think about that.
I really screwed myself over on that one.
Yeah, you did. So I like where I'm at because I have Cindric available to me at Indy, but not Chase.
Yeah, you boxed me out here a little bit. So I will try to fight fire with fire. I can't have Martin Truex Jr. I'm going to take Kyle Larson because I don't think I like him for Indy. So I will. He's got some good road course stats under his belt for the season. So I will take Larson to combat your Chase Elliott.
Kyle Busch is good here.
He is good here.
Just saying.
He is good here.
Brad Keselowski's run well here.
Brad Keselowski has run well here. Yep.
So I remember an epic battle between Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch that ended up with, I believe, Marcus Ambrose winning.
Yeah, the only thing, so like Road America, I thought Larson was coming on strong there late, but he spun, but he won Sonoma. So I don't know. I'm not sure if this is going to be a strong pick for me, but if I can't have Elliott or Truex, I'm kind of at the will. I'm kind of stuck trying to figure something out here. So I'm going to go with the guy with the fastest car.
I like that because now I got Truex available for me I have Truex. Yeah, I have Truex or Larson available at Indy.
Yeah, so. and I can take Chase at Indy if I need to. So it gives me some flexibility moving forward too.
Yeah, you'll get Chase no matter what because even if I pick first.
Yep.
All right, Fantasy League, James.
Oh my God. Fantasy League. So I've never done I don't know if I've ever done this before, Eric. I don't think I've ever gone back to back. And I missed it by 2.
I haven't.
Oh, I missed it by 2 points. Todd got the win. And that was after the whole thing that happened on lap 6. So Freight Train gets the win, 221. I was second. And then Bird 8U was third. Eric, you were fifth. You had a good day, man. So nothing to be ashamed of.
Like I said, it was really good when you wrecked Kyle Busch on lap 5.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. I feel like we all had to survive after that. Overall standings, I beat Ranger again, but I'm still it's a long way to go, man. He's way up front. Eric, you are in third. So we are holding strong on the podium right now.
That's nice.
Justin 713 is not too far behind. Then that's pretty much it. There's a handful of us with 4,000 plus. So Ranger's in his own neighborhood still. So there's not much to report there.
Yeah. Shout outs. I already gave mine. Again, if you haven't listened to Door Bumper Clear this week, if you don't like Brett Griffin, it's a great show because Brett's off this week. And so is Casey Boat. But Alan Bestwick was on, and it was a short interview, but really good interview. He talked a little bit about, he was asked the question about coming back to NASCAR, and basically said he's friends with the guys that are there right now, everybody that's doing it now. So he'd hate to take a job from any of them, but never say never, because he's everywhere he's ended up, he said, has been by chance and not intended. So good deal. I mean, great addition to SRX. We'll love to hear his voice again next year if they invite him back, which I'm sure they will, unless he's got a job somewhere else. I couldn't tell you who I'd like him to replace in NASCAR, but man, I'd love to hear his voice on Sundays again.
Can we have Mike Joy move to another location and get him in the Fox booth?
That'd be awesome.
He'd be good with Boyer, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would be.
I feel like I am sacrilegious by kicking Mike Joy out of the booth.
That is, you are. Now, that being said, if you do want to hear Alan Bestwick's voice at a NASCAR race this year, you can do it. All you have to do is go sit in the stands at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy weekend, because he's part of the public address
nice
team there.
There you go.
So I think he's taking the role of Bob Jenkins, who is ill. So
yeah, that's right.
So yeah, so you can still hear his voice in NASCAR. It's pretty cool.
Yep, very good.
So James, you got any shout outs?
Yeah, Berlin Raceway ran the ARCA series, so I just wanted to shout that out. But pretty cool that 2 of our former guests on the podcast were there at the same time.
Yeah.
Derek Winter sang the national anthem, which I seen video. He did a great job.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there video out there? I didn't see it.
Yeah,
so
on his Facebook page.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Where he's got. Yeah, go take a look at that. And then our good buddy Barron Speedway was there.
Yep. And
I shot him a message like, "Hey, say hi to Derek while you're there." So Barron was there. He got some cool pictures on his Instagram feed.
I saw that.
So yeah, Daniel Dye was the winner, which was pretty cool. But looked like it was a good day out there. I was kind of jealous. Those guys were out there watching that. So shout out to the ARCA series running here in our home state.
There you go. Yeah, very cool. James, if people want to chat with you during the break on social media, how can they do that?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old episodes of the podcast, show notes on there for each episode, which include links to articles we discuss, past race coverage, hopefully future race coverage, photos, all kinds of stuff on there. So check it out, thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Wherever you found us today, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen. Again, no more YouTube. We're not doing the video thing anymore, but if you guys want to check it out, there are some episodes up on YouTube if you search for Dream Bigger Media. We take 2 weeks off, James, unless some news breaks. If it does, we'll be back to discuss it. Otherwise, we'll be back in a couple weeks to break down Watkins Glen and get started on our road to the playoffs. We got Watkins Glen, Indy, Michigan, Daytona, and then it's time for the playoffs. So I hope everybody enjoys the time off, watch some Olympics, take a break, get some rest, go visit your local short track. That's probably the best thing to do. I'm going to be heading out to Birch Run Speedway here in a couple weeks to go check out the CRA JEG series out there. So that'll be cool. And hit it up, and I'll be back next in a couple weeks. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.